To the earworm in your head.
Yeah. That's why they call it an earworm. It's a big deal.
Look, I have a condition, okay? I'm EWS.
What is EWS?
Earworm susceptible.
Is that an actual thing?
Yes.
In NCIS, Sydney Season 2, Episode 7, Breathless, the focus shifts to Bluebird Gleeson as she takes center stage, but the episode ultimately falls flat. The plot revolves around the death of pop star Nova Sykes, who is murdered on stage, with the investigation revealing a predictable and lackluster storyline involving obsessed fans and a stage parent. The episode's most interesting element is the unique method of the murder, involving peanut oil in a smoke machine, but the rest of the case feels generic and unoriginal. While the show continues to explore Blue's backstory, it fails to provide any substantial revelations, leaving the audience with more questions than answers. Furthermore, the episode's reliance on familiar team dynamics and predictable character interactions makes it feel like the show is stagnating rather than evolving in its second season. Overall, Breathless is an underwhelming installment that misses an opportunity for greater depth and intrigue. NCIS, Sydney Season 2, Episode 7 Review, Blue becomes the star of an off-key mystery. NCIS, Sydney Season 2, Episode 7, Breathless is a well-intentioned attempt to let Bluebird Gleeson take center stage, and it succeeds in that goal. But it's not a great TV episode overall, because the most interesting thing about this story is how the murder is committed. As the second season of the spin-off is approaching the finish line, it just seems like audiences should feel more spark and more momentum. In Breathless, Blue is watching her favorite pop star Nova Sykes in concert when the Navy singer Nova is performing with collapses and dies. It's no surprise that Nova herself was actually the target, and so the team must wade through her high-profile life to find the killer. But viewers are likely to be one step ahead of them throughout, and that's where this episode comes up short. NCIS, Sydney Season 2, Episode 7 is a predictable crime drama tale. The case of the week plays out as expected. The biggest issue with NCIS, Sydney Season 2, Episode 7 is that it just doesn't have a good plot. Firstly, there's nothing about this case of the week that makes it feel like an NCIS, Sydney episode, except for that the pop star is performing with a member of the Navy choir. Change that one detail and this could be a murder on any other TV crime show. Part of the fun of having a spin-off, especially an international one, is giving its own distinct flavor and style, and this episode is miles away from that. But even setting that detail aside, Breathless is a pretty predictable story. Of course the pop star is going to be the real target. Of course the first suspect is going to be an obsessed fan who's practically been stalking Nova across several countries. The other two suspects are the head of security and Nova's seemingly supportive father, and so viewers will easily be able to guess who the real murderer is. It doesn't help that none of these characters are fleshed out beyond these archetypes. For example, overzealous fan Cassie Hayes is what everybody thinks an obsessed fan is: high energy, almost childish, going on about how Nova loves me. She's so exaggerated that she's clearly a red herring, aside from the fact that she's the first person questioned, which tells viewers she can't have done it, or the episode would be far too short. J.D. Dempsey, of Cassie she's like the Lee Harvey Oswald of superfans. The reveal of Nova's father Jeff Hayes as the murderer is something viewers will see coming well before the characters do. Even the explanation for the crime: he's been drugging his daughter so he could become her legal guardian and thus keep her as his cash cow, and Sally wanted to take Nova away from him, isn't surprising. The most unique part of the episode is the method of murder. Both Nova and Petty Officer Sally Poole have a severe peanut allergy, so Jeff had peanut oil put in the onstage smoke machine. The rest is just a standard story about obsessed fans and stage parents. NCIS, Sydney digs further into Blue's tragic backstory. Maverney Hazel gets far more screen time than usual. NCIS, Sydney has done a good job of giving episodes to most of its main characters in Season 2, so Breathless is the chance for viewers to see more of forensic scientist Bluebird Gleeson. Maverney Hazel is in most of the episode from the start, when Blue is seen in the crowd at Nova's concert. But unlike other side character episodes, for example, FBI, International Season 4, Episode 4, The Unwinnable War. The audience doesn't walk away feeling like they know Blue a lot better than they did before. The episode does reveal a big fact about her, as there is repeated reference to someone who kept her in a cage, but the details aren't given and that person is never identified. When dropping a huge piece of information like that, it would have been nice to follow it with an explanation. NCIS, Sydney relies on the same expected team dynamics. Can Season 2 further expand the group's chemistry? Another concern with Breathless is that it feels like NCIS, Sydney is falling into a rut with its character development. There are distinct rhythms here. Michelle Mackey and J.D. Dempsey tease each other about something. Evie Cooper and Deshaun Jackson tease each other about something. The whole team comes together for some fun, goofy moment at the end of the episode. In Season 2, Episode 5, Shucked, there was a dance party. Now there's a singing party, because Evie rented a karaoke machine. But at this point in the series, with the characters having been established, the show should be able to step out of its lanes and write different dynamics, too. Second seasons of TV series are when creative teams further dig into the characters and the world around them. All the exposition is out of the way and so the writers can really open things up. NCIS, Sydney Season 2 isn't doing that enough. There have been some solid character insights, but then there are episodes like Breathless that just seem to be going through the motions. And then there's also the serialized story about Colonel Rankin, which doesn't get any movement this episode. NCIS, Sydney Season 2, Episode 7 is perfunctorily average, when the show could be doing so much more.